Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn his heat. It's gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. The season is over. We did it. My name is Keith Parrish. Congratulations if you're listening to this episode. The Memphis Grizzlies just wrapped up one of the worst seasons in franchise history. Of course, they were extremely injury-plagued. On today's episode, I'm mainly just going to talk about the final two games of the regular season. The heartbreaking, narrow loss to the Lakers on Friday night, and then the final game against the Nuggets on Sunday, where G.G. Jackson set some records. Before I get there, just a reminder, if you want to support the creation of this independent show, you can do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you join over there, you get exclusive bonus content. You can join the Slack channel where I talk about Grizzlies stuff a little bit more freely than I do on social media. You also can play some of our year-long games, including the Stone Cold Locks Playoff Challenge, which launches later this week. So if you want to support the show, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. So in the next week or two, I'm going to drop my big end of season show where I wrap up all my favorite stats and kind of review every single player. That is something to look forward to. And then again, of course, we're going to look ahead towards the draft. We're going to look ahead towards free agency. We're going to start thinking a lot about the roster for next year and trades that can be made. Where we are in the league calendar, of course, with the regular season over and the play-in happening this week. The teams that are out, which is the Grizzlies and 9 other teams, they're all doing their end-of-year media wrap-up. Like right now, as I record, Desmond Bane is talking to the reporters in Memphis. Of course, I'm not in Memphis. If anything interesting comes out of those end-of-season interviews, I'll cover that on an episode later this week. But after this week, the team really honestly is going to get, I think, into some big decisions. They're going to come up pretty soon. I mean, we're a little less than a month away from the lottery. The lottery is on May 12th. And so that's where the Grizzlies will find out what pick they get in the draft. Odds are it's most likely they're going to have the 7th or 8th pick, maybe 9th pick, but that's low odds. And then, of course, you can jump up into the top 4. Once the team finds out where the pick's going to be, then they start being able to figure out exactly what paths are available to them. They are going to try to find a big this summer. That's something Zach Kleiman told the media this morning. And also, they're probably going to be wheeling and dealing. I think the end of the year, with how G.G. Jackson played, with how Jake LaRavia played earlier in the season, with how Vince Williams Jr. played, I think you found some answers there. And when you look at your roster and the fact that the Grizzlies are right now projected to be a first apron luxury tax team, you got to think some of those players are on the move. John Conchar, Zaire Williams, Luke Kennard. I'd be surprised if all 3 of those guys are back. Another thing to monitor, and I'm not an expert on this, so I might get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Grizzlies, if they want to make a trade where they send out less money than they take back, they have to do that before July. Like maybe they just resolve their issues by declining Luke Kennard's team option. Like that certainly is a possible, if not probable, avenue for the Grizzlies to relieve some of their luxury tax concerns. But if they want to make a big trade, if they want to send out, if it's Zaire or Conchar and take advantage of some of the salary matching rules you can use, where you can take back 200% of Conchar's salary or Zaire's salary, you have to do that if you're going to be a first apron team before the next league calendar begins in July. So that makes it likely that Luke Kennard's situation is resolved by the end of June. Also, it makes it possible that some of those wings, some of those deeper guys on the bench end up getting traded either on draft night or right after. But that's a lot of stuff we can get into in future episodes. In this episode, let's talk about the final two home games where they took the Lakers down to the wire. I'm calling that a heartbreaking loss. I did not think the Grizzlies still had the capacity to give me a heartbreaking loss in this lost season, but they did. I was distraught. We lost that game against the Lakers. We had the chance to condemn the Lakers to the 9-10 game in the play-in, and we could not pull off the victory. Certainly, the Lakers were helped by some officiating, we'll call them concerns. The last 2-minute report identified 3 pretty big errors that benefited the Lakers. Even before you got to the last 2-minute report, you had a Rui Hachimura offensive rebound where it definitely looked like he shoved Jake LaRavia in the back, and then he got 2 free throws on a shooting foul. I didn't see a foul on this play. That occurred with about 2:18 left in the game. In the final 2 minutes, there were 2 LeBron James travels that went uncalled, but let's be honest, the league doesn't really call those travels. Also, next year, when John Morant is back, we're going to be getting those uncalled travels in our favor. But it still hurt the fact that LeBron James and his go-ahead bucket with 44 seconds left, he travels before he makes the shot. And then I think the big one where Taylor Jenkins got a technical foul was down 3, Gigi Jackson, who had an unbelievable monster game. Gigi Jackson driving towards the basket does not get a whistle against Hachimura. This is with the Grizzlies down 3 in the final 10 seconds. This eventually leads to a turnover where Jack White tries to save the ball. It goes right to LeBron James. LeBron makes the dunk to ice the game, and the Grizzlies are feeling a little bit upset. Maybe you wanted to win that game. I certainly did. And anyways, the Grizzlies lose a close one. But let's talk about that game before we get into the final matchup against the Nuggets. In this close loss to the Lakers, where you lost by 3 to a Lakers team that was playing everybody and that needed to win. Again, this was a must-win game for the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Grizzlies, with 13 regular roster players out, took the game down to the wire. Gigi Jackson and Jake LaRavia, of course, the only regular roster players available for the Grizzlies, and it was almost enough. In this game, you got maybe Gigi's best performance of the year. At some point, I mean, maybe that's a future episode. I can try to rank Gigi Jackson's best games. Yes, he had a career high against the Nuggets with 44 points, but the game against the Lakers, in my opinion, was so much better. He was awesome in this game. In the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, he just kept putting together these offensive moves and the shot making that got the Grizzlies back in the game. He finished the Lakers game with 31 points. He made 7 out of 13 three-pointers. This was his second game of the season to have 30 points and 7 made threes. He was going toe-to-toe with LeBron James. And to see the youngest and oldest players in the NBA facing off was really, really cool. Also, Jake LaRavia, massive game. Scotty Pippen Jr., massive game. Jordan Goodwin, massive game. This game, honestly, one of the things that swung it was Scotty Pippen Jr. leaving with injury. Scotty Pippen Jr. said he's pretty sure they would have won if he hadn't left the game, hadn't gotten hurt. Scotty Pippen Jr. had a career-high 28 points. He once again got 4 steals, ties his career high yet again. He had 6 assists. Scotty Pippen Jr. was so good against his former team, the Lakers, and he makes this unbelievable hustle play where he gets a steal, he dives on the ground, throws a very impressive pass to LaRavia for this breakaway dunk. That was part of the Grizzlies cutting a Lakers lead to 2. But on that play, that's where he got scratched in the face. Eventually, he left the game, and he did not return. If Scotty Pippen Jr. is on the court, I think you have a much, obviously, better chance of winning this basketball game. Like Jordan Goodwin, he had a big performance. He had a 23-point, 17 rebound game which is just absurd. It might have taken him a career high 23 field goal attempts to get there. But for as hard as Goodwin played, matched his career high with offensive rebounds of 8 again, something he did in that 19 rebound game a couple weeks ago. Jordan Goodwin matched his career high with 4 made threes. He took a career high 9 of them. But the problem with Goodwin, as opposed to Pippen, just Goodwin can't make the offensive plays off the dribble. Goodwin can do everything on a basketball court except put the ball in the basket. And with Pippen not on the court, you had a few times where Anthony Davis got switched onto Jordan Goodwin, and Jordan Goodwin had to try to make a one-on-one move against AD. It did not go very well. Now, one of those times was near the very end of the game, and I thought it was a bad choice by Jordan Goodwin to engage Anthony Davis with a one-on-one move because Gigi Jackson gave the ball up with like 8 seconds left, and I think Goodwin should have thrown that ball right back to Gigi because Gigi was playing so well offensively. But anyways, despite the rough shooting for Jordan Goodwin, who was just 7 for 23 on his field goal attempts, including 3 of 14 on 2-pointers, I can't get mad because the effort and the way he plays was incredible. He also got 4 steals in this game. So a 23-point, 17 rebound, 4 steal, 3 assist game. It's just kind of incredible. The Grizzlies in this game, you had Goodwin with 23, Pippen with 28, LaRavia, who I'll get to in a second, he had 28, and Gigi Jackson had 31. This was the first time in franchise history you had 4 different players all score 23 or more in the same game. Of course, that, is more likely to occur when you essentially only have 4 guys playing who can score the basketball. Like the Grizzlies bench in this one, yet again, it was just Timmy Allen, Xavier Simpson, and Jack White, and it's not hyperbole when I say that might be the worst bench in NBA history. Those guys all on 10-day contracts, I'm not sure they have what it takes. Those 3 guys finished the season. This is Timmy Allen, Xavier Simpson, and Jack White. They finished the season a combined 25 for 93 on their field goal attempts. That's 27%. Bringing them all the way down is Jack White, who is 2 for 14 on his field goal attempts. Timmy Allen, 6 for 23 on his field goal attempts. In the Lakers game, they had 4 points. So that is 4 bench points for the Grizzlies. Meanwhile, Jordan Goodwin, Scotty Pippen Jr., Gigi Jackson, and Jake LaRavia combined for 110 points. That's wild. So Jake LaRavia against the Lakers, also really, really good game, continuing his very strong run of play that he has had finishing this season. He scored 17 points in the second quarter. He also got 3 assists in that quarter. So 17 points and 3 assists in just one quarter for Jake. In that second quarter, by the way, Gigi and Jake scored 29 of the Grizzlies' 38 points. In this game against the Lakers, Jake kept working his way to the foul line. He had a career-high 11 free throw attempts and made all of them. So 11 for 11 from the line, 28 points, and also got a career-high 6 assists. So it was an unbelievably good ball game. Maybe one last really entertaining show for the home fans on a Friday night. Of course, Friday nights have not gone well for the Grizzlies this year. If you've missed it in previous episodes, the Grizzlies, of course, finished up their worst home record in the Memphis era. They finished the season 9-32 at home. The only worst home record in franchise history was back in the Vancouver days. They had an 8-33 home record. But the game on Sunday, all right, the final fan appreciation game, we had the same guys available. 13 rostered players out, just your normal go-tos. Trey Jemison starting in the middle, flanked by Gigi and Jake, and then Jordan Goodwin and Scotty Pippen Jr. with the bench of Timmy Allen, Xavier Simpson, and Jack White. And yes, of course, Jake and Gigi kept scoring. They also kept shooting. They took a monstrous share of the shot attempts in this game. But despite the stats being kind of fun with how big they are, I don't compare the game against the Nuggets with the game against the Lakers. I thought the game against the Lakers, Jake and Gigi played great, and it felt more important. I put a little more stock or value in those performances than I do against the Nuggets. The Nuggets game felt a little bit more like a farce. Against the Lakers, you actually built a 9-point lead in the third quarter. Yes, the Lakers then built their own lead, but then the Grizzlies fought back, and that was a team that had to win. Yes, the Nuggets wanted to win and were trying to win, but the Nuggets essentially asserted their dominance over a pretty long stretch from the end of the second quarter through midway through the third quarter. I think the score over that span was 35-12, maybe 35-10 over this pretty long span of the game, where the Nuggets are like, all right, we're going to stop screwing around and we're going to put the Grizzlies out of their misery. So I don't put as much emphasis, or I'm not as encouraged, despite the fact that some of the numbers are a little bit gaudier by the Nuggets game. I'm not discouraged by it by any stretch of the imagination, but I just wanted to emphasize the Lakers game was great. And Gigi and Jake, I feel like, really showed us some stuff in that Lakers game. In the Nuggets game, though, Gigi set a Grizzlies rookie record with 44 points. Of course, he broke Kenneth Lofton Jr.'s record. Kenneth Lofton Jr., who had 42 points in last season's final game, had that record just snuffed out a little bit, with Gigi Jackson posting 44. So Gigi Jackson is the youngest player in NBA history to have a 40-point, 10-rebound game. So Gigi matched his career high with 12 rebounds. The second youngest to do it is Kevin Durant. Both Kevin and Gigi did it in game 82 of the regular season. Reminder, April and the last game of the season, totally meaningless stuff. But still, Gigi did some fun stuff in this one, kept on scoring. He set a franchise record with 36 field goal attempts. The previous record for most field goal attempts in a game, regular season or postseason, Ja Morant had taken 34 in a game. So Gigi is the second youngest player in NBA history to have a 40-point game. Only LeBron James was younger. Gigi and Jake in this game. So Jake had 29 points, and he did it despite getting off to kind of a slow start. I mean, another way to put it is he scored a lot of points in garbage time. Jake made his final 6 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter. One of them, I think it started with a goaltended shot, and then he got an and one, and then he kind of found his rhythm, started making some threes. But he finishes up with 29 points. So Gigi and Jake combine for 73 points. In the second half, Gigi and Jake scored 44 of the Grizzlies' 57 points. In the first half, they took 31 of the team's 45 shots. So this was absolutely the Jake and Gigi show. Overall, as a team, I mean, through the first 3 quarters, they were just 4 out of 23 on 3-pointers. So I don't want to read too much into any of this, but the numbers are kind of fun because Jake, shoots 11 for 20 for the game and finishes with 29 points. So Jake scored 28 or more in each of the final 3 games of the season. A remarkable run. I mean, Jake was absolutely a monster against the Cavaliers, then had an excellent game against the Lakers. Not as good against the Nuggets, but finishes with a great stat line. So he averaged 29.7 points over the final 3 games of the year. By scoring 28 or more in 3 straight games, he's only the 9th player in franchise history to score 28 or more in 3 straight games. The other guys to do it, the big names, Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Mike Conley, Mark Gasol, Pau Gasol, and Bryant Reeves. And I mean, I'll talk more about this on a future episode, but Jake, along with Gigi, along with Vince, just big bright spots for this year where I feel like they proved themselves. And we have to maybe not get super carried away with March, April basketball. So a little bit of a grain of salt with what Jake has done, but I think it's been encouraging. And you can't say anything bad about it. You can't be like, all right, he showed that he's not going to be around next year. It's like, no. He put enough on tape where now we have to think, okay, maybe that's a guy we can have hang around our roster. And hopefully when the games mean more, he'll also be able to contribute in a not the same level, but he'll still be able to contribute based on what he's shown over the final month or so of the season. Also, that goes for, of course, Scotty Pippen Jr., who I think has proven himself to be an NBA player. Scotty in the final game had 15 points and 7 assists. We can't say the same about Xavier Simpson, Jack White, and Timmy Allen. Trey Jemison had 11 rebounds against the Nuggets. Trey, of course, on a two-way. Whether or not Trey or Jordan Goodwin stay on two-way contracts for next season, I'm not sure. I mean, in one sense, they're useful role players who do the dirty work and fill an important role as far as something the team needs, which is defense and rebounding. And in this context, when there aren't any shot creators around, possibly they look a little bit worse. So maybe those guys will stick around for next year. But I think you've absolutely found yourself someone you want to keep around, which is Scotty Pippen Jr. And then Gigi and Jake also showing out really well at the end of the season. And with that, I think I'm going to put a bow on this episode. Of course, I'm going to keep releasing episodes all off season. The off season might arguably be even more fun than the regular season was, because we got a lot to talk about as far as just wrapping up this past season and then looking ahead to all the exciting things that will occur. So I'll just say thanks everybody who listened this entire regular season. You guys are incredible. The most hardcore of the hardcore fans. Without you guys, and of course without my Patreon supporters, of course, I don't think I would be doing this. But anyways, hope you guys have a great Monday. If you want to support the show, do that, please. Patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.